Well, let's get into last night's debate performance. This is Tim Walz's face, and that is JD Vance slapping the shit out of him. Because he did. JD, let me wet my whistle, because we're about to get into a lot of highlights here. JD freaking wiped the floor with that guy. And it was easy to watch. It was easy because Tim Walz is old. He looks like if Joe Biden were to pass out in the waters of Delaware and got all bloated and walked out on stage. That's basically what you're looking at. And he has no cognitive decline as far as I'm aware. So let's get into a few of the things that happened. The first one was the gross majority, close to 90% by the way, of gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. Correct. And I also want to note here, we highlighted this during yesterday's debate, is that when they talk about gun violence, they include suicides, but even more than that, and we talk about it in my book, Trojan Horse, depending on how you look at the stats, they actually leave out infants. They leave out a certain age of children to fit the narrative to make it work that it would be the leading cause of death. So they might start at 2 years old to 16. It's really odd that they don't go up to like 17 and 11 months. So be very careful when you're hearing these stats that they manipulate in a way to work for the narrative of their choosing. When in actuality, there's other causes of death. I don't know, like abortion that kills millions every year.
Just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in 2nd grade. And like a lot of parents, we send our kids to school with such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school. And we know, unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience this terrible epidemic of gun violence. And of course, our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this terrible stuff. And we do have to do better. And I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this. The question is just, how do we actually do it? Now, here's something that really bothers me and worries me about this epidemic of violence. The gross majority, close to 90% in some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, we've seen a massive influx in the number of illegal guns run by the Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the amount of illegal guns in our country is higher today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger.
I don't know why. Again, Tim Walz was a teacher. I'm a teacher. I honestly, God, don't know why he's shaking his head. I would love better glass. I would love better protection in school. I would love more security. I got no qualms with it. And by the way, this whole idea of like, oh, students are up in arms. They don't want to have to go to a prison. First of all, just go look at the public education system. It already looks that way. Give me a break. And second of all, you can do it in ways that doesn't make it seem like you're walking through a metal detector or you have somebody walking around campus. Have a guy walking around in a full-blown suit. He looks nice. He looks sharp. Looks like an ordinary Joe, just a business guy. Have a guy walking out. He doesn't need to be walking around with tactical gear with the helmet, right? And the night vision goggles lifted up. Like, I'm ready to go. Who wants to fuck with me? Right? You don't need a guy like that. Just have the security that you need. I don't understand. Like, we all go to sporting events with tons of security. No problem. The kids don't care. It's always, oh, the children. They don't care. You gotta love when they're like, oh, God, we shut down the schools, the children. They don't give a shit. They're at home living up the dream. Who the hell would want to be in school? They're at home playing video games, hanging out with their friends, going to the beach, surfing, fucking snowboarding. Oh, God, they gotta go home. Talk to any kid. They don't care. Go poor them. They got to sit at home now for 10 hours and play video games. Oh, that's terrible. Like, come on. So I don't know if you caught this. I did. I was actually talking to my wife about after the debate where everybody was talking about this and posting this meme and this quote. I wasn't 100% sure if I heard him say this during the live, which is why I didn't comment on it. But I'm like, there's no way he said this. There's no way he said this, but he did. He said, quote, because it goes by fast, and we'll play it twice. I've become friends with school shooters. He said it. He said it.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become.
Yo, everybody is memeing that right now. Now, obviously, you guys, he's not friends with school shooters, right? Let's be honest here. Let's not do what the media does in fake news. But he said it, but it obviously was a slip up. Now, my wife questioned it and goes, well, what did he mean by it? I actually don't know. In context, and again, I'm not trying to make Tim look bad. That's not what I'm trying to do. I don't know what he was aiming for and what, yeah, somebody said whack job. I just don't know what he meant to replace friends with, or did he mean to say I'm not friends with, or I don't like school? I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure he's going to sit there and come out with something. But a lot of talk was about the home prices last night. And by the way, it came out, according to CBS News, that homes that are unaffordable in 99% nation for average Americans. So almost 100% of homes are unaffordable for Americans. That's just lovely. Oh no, we're going in the right direction, guys. And don't worry, they're going to clean it up. Yeah, Kamala Harris, they'll get it. They'll get to it. Yeah, they promised us, you guys. Notice the Democrats forget the word transition because, they go out to their jobs. They got other things going on. Yeah, Democrats, your administration has used the word transition more than anybody in this freaking universe. They kept saying for years, like 3 years, by the way. I think they just stopped almost at the beginning of this year. Yeah, we're in a transition phase. Yeah, we're in a transition to this. Remember? So we're in a transition phase. Oh, we want to transition out of that. We want to transition out of this. When's it going to happen? Well, they said so when it was going to happen. They actually asked the American people back when Joe Biden was rerunning for election. They said, well, we just need 4 more years to finish the job. When did you ever start? I would really love to know that. When did you start? So Tim Walz, no one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns. As somebody that lives in the state of California, lived here my entire life, lived on the East Coast for a short time, Kamala Harris was here when I was living here. That not signed, but wanted and approved of a bill that would confiscate your guns. It was here, and they're lying to all of you that don't live in California. She did that. She wanted that. And now they're saying, well, we're not going to confiscate your guns. Then what the F was that back in the day?
Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general.
So notice that he just brings that she was attorney general, but he doesn't go in to the whole issue that she's supportive of wanting to confiscate firearms in the state of California. Notice that he doesn't want to do that one bit. He never really gave any details. I mean, granted, neither did JD Vance, but JD Vance did a great job, I think, in terms of hierarchy of offering more solutions and a actual plan. And then this quote just kind of floors me. So I have a firearm. Okay. FBI, don't come. I'm sorry. I don't have a firearm. Sorry. Wink, wink, wink. Well, it's amazing how nothing happens. Do you notice that? The thing isn't walking around the house by itself going pew, 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 pew. It just doesn't work because there's no human being behind it to make it work. But tell me if this makes sense to you, Patriots, what he says here.
I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. And what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. And there are things that you can.
I love, and everybody was commenting on this last night after the debate. JD Vance's face right there. He did a lot of that face, and it was perfect. It was like that face that Scott gives in The Office, Michael Scott. He always looks at the camera, or Jim Halbert of The Office, they all look into the camera. That is exactly what JD Vance was doing. Like, what the f, or everybody see what I'm seeing? It was perfect. And look, it's just a simple look. It wasn't snarky. It was just like, are you guys seeing this too? And then look at the other dude's face. Some people were saying, hey, they wish JD Vance would be more aggressive. I don't. I think this was a perfect, he made this guy up here look like a bumbling buffoon, like a clown. And it just, not only his expressions, but also his words. Yeah, it's just the guns. It's never been just the guns. There's a lot of guns in this country. There's a lot of law-abiding citizens, Tim. And it's amazing how you're not seeing them going up, shooting up places. That's really weird. It's usually the criminals that are doing that. But they always have to go after you and I. They always have to go after and want to confiscate our firearms. And I'm telling you, he's just bold-faced. I will call him out when he's telling the truth. I did that last night, actually, by the way. The way that he was using some statistics. Tim, I go, yeah, he's actually telling the truth on that. I have no problem saying, yeah, he's telling the truth. He's being honest. He's lying to you. The Democrats have come out and have said plainly, it took them many years to do it. We want to remove, quote, your semi-automatic firearms. The reason why they had to clarify that was because they spent years trying to obfuscate the actual thing that they wanted to do by saying, well, we just want to remove assault weapons. And then they go, well, we want to remove weapons of war. That was the two analogies or the two slogans that they kept pushing out. And it wasn't clear enough. And so finally, specifically where that quote came from, was Joe Biden and said, we want to remove semi-automatic firearms. That's every firearm, semi-automatic. But because people are too stupid to know actually what semi-automatic firearm is, they just think that sounds good. Or the gun looks scary. There was a great clip many years ago. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here. There's a great clip by Steven Crowder many years ago, 5, 10 years ago, where he laid out on a table a bunch of rifles, a bunch. And some of them looked scary to people. And then some of them were the old, the crank, right? The little switch and go. And he goes, which one would you want to ban if you did? And they always went to like the scary tactical looking firearms, even though there's other rifles there, right? The old school made of wood, right? The bullet lever. And they go, well, this one would actually probably do more damage technically to you. And people had no clue. So the old school rifles that we have, they just get scared of the tactical ones. Even, by the way, even though they do the same thing, they all go pew pew. So people just, they think they look at something, they get all scared. They get all their panties in a bunch.